Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Midnight bringing you another video on Fairy Tail, and I am back. I've been away for a week, but I am back home now, so I can upload. During my time being away, Leo has been announced. That's what today's video is going to be about, and whether you should summon for him. So we'll be going through that, and then obviously adding him into the PvE tier list. I can kind of give you a rough idea of where he'll sit on the PvP, but I haven't put him on there yet. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So Leo is the new unit that came out. In fact, he's a brand new unit, so we didn't see him before. He was on the Chinese version, but he's now been released on global before Jose, which is a bit weird, but must be a sign that they're trying to catch up with the CN version of the game as well. So he is a physical unit, versatility, so being versatility is really good. I guess being physical is also really good, since that is kind of the meta at the minute, so good stuff there. And let's go through his kit. He's got quite a unique kit compared to most characters in the game. So skill 1, he just charges forward and does damage to enemies within a straight line in front of him. So there's not too much on that. He's got a 12-second cooldown, which is really good. Skill 2 is where his whole kit revolves around. This skill here is pretty much this is Leo, right? This whole kit here. So with skill 2, Leo will put a shield on himself and give himself this buff called Mightiest Release. For the purpose of the video, I'm going to be calling it the buff instead of Mightiest Release. So whenever I talk about buff, I'm talking about this, okay? So he'll get a shield that will block damage equal to X amount plus 30% of his physical attack, which obviously will go up as you level up the skill, but we'll see that in a minute. For 25 seconds, and then he gets an increased crit hit by 30% and immune to stun, fear and sleep for 15 seconds. The status remains on Leo after you switch to another wizard as well. So that might sound good at the moment, but it does get better. Skill 3 has a stun. Other than that, it just does damage. 2.5 second stun is actually pretty decent, I'll be honest. And his last skill has a bit of control immunity onto it, but no other status effects, just a big amount of damage to enemies in front of him once again. His passive skill is when having Mightiest Release, the buff, Leo has a 100% chance to reset the duration of the buff upon hitting enemies with any of his skills. The cooldown is 6 seconds. So what this means is when he has the buff on, which for auto purposes, he always starts with this and then he goes into skill 3. When he does this, then there is a 6-second cooldown. Once that 6-second cooldown is up, if you use one of his other 3 skills, his 15 seconds here of this buff will reset. So basically he'll permanently have crit hit, 30% and immune to stun, fear and sleep. If you play your cards right, he'll permanently have this on. His leader skill is enhanced light attack by 30% when it's at max level. So this is actually really good for Luxus, Makarov. If you're using Arya, it's good for that as well. And also pretty decent for Jalal trying to nuke with his ultimate skill as well. So not a bad leader skill, but not a reason why you should pull for him. Then if you get him second origin, because obviously we add the units onto the tier list based on second origin, just because then it applies to everyone. When Leo maintains Mightiest Release for 15 seconds, he also gains defense of physical and magical by 20%. When he has the buff on him for 25 seconds, he gains 40% crit damage. And when he has the buff on him for 40 seconds, he gains increased attack speed, and each basic attack reduces all skill cooldowns by 1.8%. 1.8 seconds, so not 1.8%, and it's a 30% attack speed bonus. So moral of the story is, if you have him second origin, he is going to be very good for certain modes, which I'll get into in a moment when we get onto the tier list. But having this buff up is literally his whole kit. Okay, so you know, using his skills, keeping his buff maintained. If you have him for 40 seconds on the field with this buff up, he's going to have 30% attack speed, 30% crit hit, 40% crit damage, 20% physical and magical defense, and he's going to lower his skill cooldown with every physical attack he does. So he's going to be using these skills on repeat non-stop. So he can be absolutely insane, but there is a gimmick to this, which we'll get into in a moment. So let's go straight into his skills and talk about him as a unit. So first of all, let's come here. So you can see he gets 30% attack bonus here. That's his max stats on his skill 1. That's his max stats on skill 2, skill 3, and skill 4. So you can see a lot of his skills do really big damage, but there is a problem. Okay, so we're back. I keep getting this video cut off, but essentially, here are his max stats. 1, 2. So I won't talk about them too much, but as you can see, they do pretty big damage, all of these skills here. 4, and then obviously he's got the 30% attack speed as well. So I'll show you the skills. So his basic attack has a 3-hit combo, as you can see. Quite slow as well at the moment. Skill 1 is another 3-hit combo, or 4, 5, 6, I don't know. There's too many numbers, but it does do some like pushback damage. It continues. This is skill 2 animation, so he puts that buff on him, and every time you use a skill it will say Mightiest Release to say that your buff has been reset essentially. So yeah, this is skill 3, which is quite nice with the 2-second stun, 2.5 second, and this is his ultimate skill, which you can see here. Nice. So the main issue with Leo is, I'm going to get over here to do it. I'm going to do this just to keep that buff up for a sec. The main issue with Leo is his attacks are they're very static. Like, they don't really move. Like, if anyone gets out of the range, you can't hit them. Now you can't really see it here because they're not moving, but like when you use him, when you trial him out, he sometimes misses a lot of the characters, and he's obviously getting stunned. If they've got super armor, then he just can't maintain his hits on the enemies. So that's the main problem with him. He is going to absolutely excel in Underworld. Underworld he is going to do amazing in, as well as Guild Boss he could potentially do quite good in if you have him second origin and you can play around him really well. And then I'm just going to show you up here, these are the buffs that he's got: the 30% attack speed, a crit damage, and the defense, and obviously the crit hit from this anyway. So let's just kind of show us his attack speed now. I'm just doing this to keep the buff up. It's a lot quicker than at the start. But yeah, that's the main problem with him, is a lot of his skills, if they're like, you know, most skills will kind of get everyone in range, but like, let me just like push one of these guys out of range a little bit, and then if we just aim, you can see like he just doesn't pull them in, which is quite a big problem, to be fair. Like, he's a very narrow corridor of where you're going to hit the enemies, which is a bit of a problem. But he will do really good in Underworld and Guild Boss, and you could potentially put him in Palace, but I don't think he's that good in Palace, like, to be honest. Overall, this unit is going to be better in PvE, because the problem in PvP is what I've just said here. He just really gets outshined. A lot of characters can hit him before he can hit them, and you got to hope that he can survive long enough to keep all of these buffs up. So he is probably an A tier unit in both PvE and PvP. But I'm going to show you the PvE side in just a moment here. But yeah, that's Leo. So I'll get back to you in a minute when I get the tier list up on the screen. Okay, and we're back. So this is the PvE tier list. As you can see, there are a few changes from the original tier list that we had uploaded. I'm going to see if I can find the original one just so I can tell you what the actual changes are. But yeah, as you can see here, we've put Leo in the A tier section. Now, the main reason for this is because, yes, he is an absolute god in Underworld. He is fairly decent in Guild Battle. Like, he's not amazing, but he is still good. Then the rest of the content he kind of falls off in. There's just other units that do things better than him. The main problem is just the fact that he can't hit loads of units with his skills, so you're really only going to be able to nuke bosses with him. And you're going to need to maintain that buff to really make him pop off, and that's if you got in second origin, obviously. So we kind of put him in A tier. He's a bit better than all of these units here. He's on the same level as Gargiel. To be honest with you, Gargiel is a lot easier to have as a unit, and he just still does good all round in most contents of the game. So yeah, that's roughly where we'd put Loki in the PvE side. I'm gonna update the PvP tier list soon. Now that I'm back home, I'll speak to the people that we've been doing the tier list with, because I also still need to add Angel to the tier list. So when I do a video on that, I'll mention that and put them both in there and explain why. But yeah, Loki, by the sounds of things, is either going to be high B or kind of low A in PvP. Angel, we're still pretty unsure of, but I can imagine she'll probably be in the A section roughly again, just because she is quite tanky, and depending on who you pair her with, having that second person, you know, stun or anything like that, she can be good. So she could probably be high A, maybe even S, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, this is a PvE tier list. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to do a channel update tomorrow, I believe, possibly, or if not the PvP tier list, I'm not sure, just because I mean, I'll talk about it briefly here, but as you may know, the game is kind of, in most people's eyes, dying. And as much as I love the game, I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself and say that it is, you know, still thriving. The problem is there's no actual new content coming to the game. It is just do your dailies. I mean, I can't even do Guild Clash anymore. We don't have enough guilds in our server the last 2 weeks to do Guild Clash. So, yeah, I'll talk a bit more in depth about it all tomorrow, but obviously the game is potentially dying, so I will still cover content on this game, but it'll probably just be when new characters come out, and then eventually, if we don't get new characters, I'll be doing more build videos, team videos, and things like that. But my content will be more focused on Wuthering Waves. That game comes out in like 3-4 days at the time of this uploading, so I'm going to be covering that game as my main game, as I'm super excited for that game, and I think many of you should play it. If you've played Genshin Impact, it's very similar. But yeah, I am going to be covering that game as my main game. So, but I will still cover this game. And if you want to ask questions, and you know, I may not upload a video on it because that, you know, I'll be uploading less on this game, then join the Discord in the description, and you can always ask questions in there. There's not just me in there. There's many of people in there that know what they're talking about. I think we've got over 100 members in there now, so a really small but good community. And who knows, if you're on a certain server, you might be able to join a certain guild with other people. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. Take care and peace out.